Thumbs up when you're ready. Just Adam.
Just want to make sure you look great, Mac.
Well, that's the take. Well,
Start getting demerits over there.
Easy over there, Chip.
we need more than a camera. I was picking on you, Chip. I don't know. You didn't say anything, did you?
He did.
Oh, you did. You've been a smart aleck.
I've already called it from Luke today.
Yeah, no question. Welcome, everybody. Really excited to be 3-0 with maybe the toughest schedule in the country. In fact, there's only 4 teams nationally that have won 2 non-conference games against Power 5. So that's pretty cool. And the guys have fought it. They've been physical. They've had an overtime game, so they've won a close game. And they've had 2 games that they won in the 4th quarter and beat the other team down. We have not been 4-0 since 1997. So this is a huge week for us. We also haven't responded very well after positives. We haven't handled success very well. And that's part of the growing of your program, where we got to get used to winning again. And we got to think we're going to win and plan on winning instead of feeling too good about ourselves, getting pats on the back, and not being as ready to play the next week. So that's important. But 3-0 for back-to-back seasons for the first time since 96-97. 3-0 for the 3rd time in 4 years. Only 3-0 start. The other 2 times back-to-back were in 96 and 97 as well. It's also the first time we've beaten a Big Ten and SEC team in the same season since 1976. So a lot of positive things happening right now with our program moving forward. Jeremy can get you all these stats, or any of these stats if you need them. Player of the game offensively was Nate McCollum. 15 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown. He had the most catches of any player during this regular season. And he was 1 catch away from tying Josh Downs' record for most catches in a game. If I'd have known that, we would have thrown him 1 more ball. But he was 1 shy of a school record. So he's good to have him out there. Glad that he's well. Obviously, you see the impact we thought he would have on our team, and you add what we thought the impact as Walker would have had on our team. They were 2 great choices in the transfer portal to give us great speed outside and change games. And that's not the only reason we were disappointed Tez not playing, because we thought he should, but obviously he would have a great impact on our team and put himself in a tremendous position with the NFL and with NIL money as well. So those are more reasons that we've been upset. Defensive player of the game, Power Eccles, played his best game, had 9 tackles, had an unbelievable interception, very much like the one he had against Oregon in the bowl game, that changed the game, because we knew it was going to be a possession game, a number of plays game, and they were moving the ball, they were holding the ball. It was a hot day. We wanted to keep their defense on the field, and this was a game-changing play. So really, really proud of Power. And the 2 special teams players of the game were Leon Boyd. Liam's never played in the game before. He was a walk-on that was redshirted last year at Clemson and transferred in here. And he had 4 touchbacks of his 6 kickoffs. So he had great placement on the ball. So we're really, really proud of him stepping in when Ryan Coe had the lower body injury last week. And Noah Burnett waited his chance again. He had the 42-yard field goal and kicked 4 extra points. So our kicking game was really good, and those guys stepped up. Another notable guy on offense was Drake. He had completed 29 of 40 passes for 2 touchdowns, 414 yards. He did have the 2 interceptions. One of them he just underthrew. He's human. We don't think he's human because he's the best out there. And the second one he got hit, which was just an unfortunate throw. But he does things that absolutely amaze me. And it's just completing ball after ball with confidence. And the number of, I get mad at our defense for not stopping the quarterback run. Drake makes yards every week. I mean, it's hard to stop the quarterback from scrambling when you've got a guy that can run. That's why you need an athletic quarterback. and he's one of the best in the country at finding the yards, having a great feel for it, and getting the first down. Offensively, we were good overall, but we've got room for improvement. Probably the most improved two areas were third down and red zone. We were 12 of 17 in third downs, and that was against a team last year that was 5th in the country in third down defense. Minnesota's really good, and they're really good on defense. They play hard and they're well coached. And we've made over 60% of our third downs in 3 consecutive games for the first time since they were keeping these stats back in 1990. So we're doing a much better job on our third downs than we've done. And we were 3 for 3 with red zone touchdowns. And that's something we have not been doing our last few years as well. So, and conversely, they were 4 for 12 on third down. And we did not do a good job against App State on third downs last week with conversions, so that was a huge improvement. And they were 1 of 2 in touchdowns in the red zone. So 519 yards. We want to be balanced, but we don't want to be stubborn. I told Chip and the offensive coaches at halftime, if they had too many in the box, throw the ball. And we ran the ball 1 time in the third quarter. And then we came back out in the fourth quarter, and we had 16 rushes for 76 yards. When they knew we were going to run it, we knew we were going to run it, and that's important. So they had 4 rushes in the fourth quarter for 9 yards. So we had the ball 11 minutes and 26 seconds to their 34. And for the game, we had the ball 77 plays to their 61. And that was a real concern coming in because they had not allowed another team to have over 50 plays on the average of offense. So dominating the fourth quarter was really, really important to us. The time of possession for the day was 33 minutes and 10 seconds at 26:50. All of those things were really, really important going through. So like the way we're playing complementary football. We're keeping the ball, defense getting off the field, all of those things really helped us with time of possession on Saturday. I didn't like the way our production on first down. We had too many second longs, and we overcame them, and we got back to third down, but we had too many plays on first down, specifically runs that did not make enough yardage to put us in the positions we need. And we can't have the 2 turnovers. We had 2, they had 2. We did stop one of their fourth downs, so they did not stop us, so that put us in a better position there. Defensively, we said we did a great job on third downs. We held Minnesota to 133 yards passing. They were 10 of 30. I thought the fact that we were more aggressive with our disguises, we were more aggressive with our defensive backs. We were in people's face more. We had more opportunities to make plays than in our past. So we actually had the 2 interceptions, but we had 8 pass breakups. And in our past few years, we haven't done a good job of being there. So we're around the ball now. And when you do, that's when you start getting more turnovers and gives you a chance to win more ball games. Defense did a great job with sudden change. After the interception that came back to the 16-yard line, plus 16, we in our past, we haven't done a good job of standing up and stopping people. Nate McCullum made a great play to tackle the guy. He could have gone back for a touchdown, but then the defense stepped up and held him to 3 points. And that's something that is definitely an improvement. We gave up 170-yard rushes, which is too much. We gave up 219 last week. 3 of those runs for the 170 yards were 80 yards. 3 of those plays. So that's what we've got to do. We had 3 explosive plays that we were in position to stop and didn't. So we can't give up explosive runs like that. So outside of those 3, we held them to 3.2 yards per carry and on the other 28 rushes. But that doesn't matter. We gave up 80 yards. And we just didn't get where we were supposed to get. We've got to play those better, and we've shown those to the players. And the other thing that really hurt us, and we gave them a first down and on third and long with a penalty, but also they had 2 quarterback runs. So we've still got to figure out a way to do a better job with the quarterback runs and trying to stop them. But off of their turnovers, they scored 3 points. The 2 turnovers that we got, we only scored 3 points. So the turnovers ended up balancing out. Special teams, we did a nice job, as we said earlier, with the kickers. Our punter did a good job kicking it inside the 20. We had Drake in a shotgun formation where we can actually run the play or punt, and he punted it inside the 15, which we felt like gave us an advantage. And we had the one really bad punt, the 22-yard punt, which is unlike Ben and something that we can't do. We were fortunate that they had a block in the back, a personal foul that gave us 15 more in that situation and didn't hurt us. Pittsburgh, they always play you tough. They're one of the toughest teams in this league, traditionally. I love Coach Pat Narduzzi. He's tough, he's a competitor. They're not happy with their start. We've been up there the last 2 times and played overtime games and lost both. They'll be ready to play. They'll be excited to play. So we've got to go do a great job and go fight our guts out and, as I said, be able to handle success, because we know how they're going to play. The question will be, how are we going to play? Because we haven't always responded well when people are patting us on the back. So that's really important that we do that this week. Questions?
Mack, we were talking earlier about the team traditionally not responding as well to positives and momentum and things like that. What do you want to see, in that process of their response? Like, what do you want the response to look like?
I want the response to look like you just got beat. And there's so many things that you've got to improve on your team to get better, and you're playing to a standard. You're not a team that plays up and down. I always loved Coach Osborne's team at Nebraska. I thought they played, I saw them play Northwestern in the Alamo Bowl once, and they were disappointed because they didn't get what they wanted in the bowl game, and they beat them like 59-0. And I always told our teams in Texas, you play to a standard, period, each week. And you got to play to a standard of the best team. When we won the national championship, after we beat Oklahoma, we started playing to the standard of USC because they were number 1, we were number 2, and that was really stupid at that time, but we said, let's compare our stats every Sunday to USC's, not to Oklahoma State's, not to Kansas State's. We're not playing them, we're playing for the national championship. So to get there, you've got to play to the best of your ability. So we actually did that. So we're trying to get this team to do the same. Understand what we didn't do well. Don't start sitting around talking about what you did well. Everybody knows what you did well. But what didn't you do well? What didn't I do well? What didn't our coaches do well? And I'm on our coaches this morning like we lost the game. And that's what I told them. Why did we give up 80 yards in 3 plays? We didn't coach them right. We didn't have them in the right place. That's on you. Don't blame the kid. If he didn't fill the right gap, if he didn't play with the right leverage, it's coaching. That's you. Why did we threw 2 fades, 2nd and 10 in the red zone? Both of them incomplete, out of bounds. Why did we throw them? Why didn't we have a better call than that at that time? So we want to, you're best when you're uncomfortable. And if you get comfortable in this business, you better look out, because about the time you think something's not going to happen, it does. And just look at the scores around the country. Every Sunday I go in there and show players, teams that have better players that lost the game. So it's not the best team, it's the team that plays the best on that day. And I've said, what do you think they were thinking last Sunday before they got beat? How do you think they practiced on Tuesday? What were they thinking about on Thursday? They sure didn't think that team had any chance to beat them, because none of us thought they did. And that's the mentality you got to have, is get up every morning, have an edge every morning, and get better every day. I gave the coaches a quote this morning. You get better or worse every day, and every week. You're not going to stay the same, period. So are we going to get better this week, or are we going to get worse? That's the question mark, and only the people in this building can handle that.
You just said, I was just going to say, you just said that you compared stats, in the past. Is there a team out there right now that you're having them kind of look at it?
No, because we're not good enough to do that yet. We don't have anybody we're chasing. We're trying to get ourselves better. So what we're doing is we're taking those 3 plays for the 80 yards, and we're showing them to the entire team. Don't be griping. about the defensive call. Don't be griping about somebody else's play. You didn't get in your gap. Period. Here is the reason that the protection one is good. We didn't play as good inside. Our guards didn't play as good. And they're banged up. We got to play better inside. You're only as strong as the middle in sports. Everybody's only as strong in the middle. So if you don't play well in the defensive line, you don't play well in the middle of the offensive line, usually going to lose the game. And quarterback and running backs and safeties. It's just right down the middle. Baseball's the same. Catcher, pitcher, shortstop, center fielder. It doesn't change. Whenever you look at it, the middle has to be strong, and we've got to play stronger in those areas.
Mack, during the offseason and preseason, you talked about going from good to great and wanting to go from good to great. You mentioned you haven't been 4-0 since '97. You've lost the last two. You played at Pitt. Do you sort of view this weekend as a litmus test for the team to see if they're ready to go into uncharted territory?
Yeah, Michael, it's a good point, but every week's a litmus test. And I quit saying good to great because we didn't play great against App State, and I said we should have. There wasn't any reason not to, so I'm going to quit talking about great till you start showing me you want to be great. It's a conversation. I want to see it. I don't want to hear it. So we quit talking about it. I don't use that anymore. And what you got to do is you got to go do it every week. Playing college football is really hard. I admire those kids so much that play. Regardless of whether you're playing in the game or not, being out there is really hard. I mean, they have to work so hard year round, and some of them don't get a game. Some of them have 12 games that they play for the 300 plus days that they work. So it's really, really hard. Winning's even harder. And I've told them, why work so hard and lose? If you're going to do that, get ready to play each week. And in TV, it amazed me that people cannot be ready to play. How can you have 12 out of 300 and something and not be ready to play? And it happens. It happens every week. And it may be that they're okay, but they're not at their peak, and you've got to play your best to win because everybody's pretty good. Transfer portal is made a lot more parity in college football than ever before. I'm watching, I have this thing on YouTube at home where I watch highlights of a lot of the games across the country. It's amazing to me how many people have good players. And I watch them all. I try to figure out where did he come from. Good Lord, he's good. And that's just what we're looking at. So let's really press ourselves, make ourselves very uncomfortable, and try to get to some place we haven't been before. And that's what we're trying to do.
Going back to the beginning of fall camp, you've often referred to this team as being an older team, and I think you actually did it earlier today. You've had 5 sudden change situations if you include the onside kick, and you've given up 2 field goals. Is that an example of an older team? And where does that come from on the defense?
Yes, Andrew, experience, positive and negative experience. I got a lot of both, so I understand when those things come. But I felt like that the fact I was going down before the half to tell the team this is a critical series, all that. Seth Gray was telling the defense better than I was going to tell them what I was going to tell them, and that's when I said yes, we're getting better, we're getting there. The fact we're playing so many more people is helping us on defense. We played 8 defensive linemen. We played 8 secondary players. We've never done that. So for Don Chapman to play 35 plays instead of 65, he's got 35 better ones in him because he's fresh. And then you're developing depth, and you've got better team morale, and you're less likely to get people hurt. So that helps too. So we've got older, more experienced players that can actually play too deep now instead of putting a guy in and letting him play. Like Travis Shaw, I think, played 15 plays. And that's progress for him. Des Evans played great. Jacoby Cowan made one of the best plays of the game. And he might have only played 7-8 plays, but he was highlighted as a guy who made a difference in the game because he held them on a 3rd down and 3, I think, that ended up being a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. It ended up being a 4th and 3, and they punted. So that's a huge play in this game. So all of those things are better. Power Eccles, Saul said playing power stepped it up. We were able to play Amari Campbell a series, the 3rd series of the game. We need to play him more. We need to play him 10 or 15. We got to get our guard area straightened out. It's amazing when one position gets hurt, and it makes no sense, but it does, and it gets hurt a lot. So we're pretty healthy everywhere except in the offensive line, so we got to get those guys healthy.
Mack, you've seen a lot of teams load the box and try to make the quarterback win the game. Were you a little surprised at what happened in Minnesota?
No, Chip, after we ran for 319 yards, those backs are really good too. So that's the one thing that is an advantage for us right now is we can run it and we can throw it. And everybody knows we can do both of them pretty well. So we've got to go into the game with a balanced thought, and then whatever they take away, we've got to use the other one. And I said the word stupid on Saturday, which I shouldn't have said. I said, let's don't be stupid. It's not stupid, it's stubborn. Let's don't run up the middle if they've got too many in there and just act like we're going to be tough, but we're going to get beat. Be smart. Be smart, and don't be stubborn. And you want to run it, but I thought what the coaches did on Saturday at halftime was unbelievable. They went from Drake's hot, we got guys open, let's throw it. So we ran them all one time in the third quarter, which I would have never dreamed and wouldn't have thought sitting there pregame that would have been a smart thing to do. And then we ran it 16 times in the fourth quarter for 76 yards. So take what they give you. Is the old quote, dance with the one that brung you is the old quote, and Drake was hot. And I've never seen him better. And people anymore, it's like it was with Colt McCoy. If Colt McCoy ever threw an incompletion, we all said, what's wrong with him? Well, that's the way it is with Drake right now. If he ever throws an incompletion, we say, what's wrong with Drake? Man, it's that way in practice. I went up to Chip one day, and Drake had thrown 2 incompletions, and I said, what's wrong with Drake today? He said, Coach, he's 8 of 12, or 10 of 12, or, and I said, I got it. So, but that's where we're headed.
Mack, in terms of the intensity and physicality you kind of referenced with Pitt, you feel like these past 2 weeks with App State and Minnesota have almost been primers for that kind of play style you're going to face? And how do you think your team has responded to that kind of physicality?
Yes, really the first 3 games are as physical as we'll play all year. These are really physical football teams, and I think P.J. Fleck at Minnesota was 17-1 in non-conference games.
19-1.
19-1. Really good football team, well coached, tough, coming in here undefeated. I was proud of our fans. We've got an unbelievable student body that helps us. We got to get back to winning at home, and now we've won 2 games at home that will help us because we had a 3-game stretch after the open date here. But this is one of the most physical teams we could have played after those 3 physical games. So yes, we've got to continue to do a better job stopping the run and disrupting quarterbacks. Coach Chiswick will talk about that in a minute. I'm not going to get into them, but we had a lot of pressures. We had a lot of hits on the quarterback. Even though the sacks don't look the same, it's still pressures, hits, making him uncomfortable are all very valuable. And I think part of that's because we're doing a better job with our secondary of getting up there tough. But yes, we're banged up, we're sore, tough game, gotta get ready to go. A lot of people are banged up and sore, but a lot of people aren't 3-0 either. So we should be taking high energy and confidence to Pittsburgh, unlike a lot of people who haven't played anybody.
Mack, just to follow up with that real quick along those lines, do you think this is the type of team that looks forward to a fight, you guys, or does that remain to be seen?
We didn't look forward to the App State fight. We did 1 and 3, so we'll see. Saturday night about midnight, I'll know.
Okay, well,
Ask me, you'll know. You don't have to ask me. You'll tell by the look on my face when I walk in the press conference.
You have a sense for that with your team sometimes going into a game. Did you sense before South Carolina and Minnesota was different than it was before?
Yes.
Looking for the fight.
Yes, I did. We had one of the best weeks of practice this week I've ever been around. Guys were upbeat on Tuesday. They were excited. I could tell there was a buzz. And I told them that yesterday. I said, you're sitting here right now and you've got to get rid of this one, which is going to be hard to do with everybody patting you on the back. And you've got to get excited about going to Pittsburgh where you haven't won. And we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. And usually on Tuesday. And it was amazing. We had great practices for South Carolina, great practices for Minnesota. They were okay for App State. We played okay. So they usually tell you. And I'm telling you, it's really hard to flip it when you see it. It's like when you're talking to them on a week like that, they're looking at you like, what are you mad about? We're 3-0. I said, yeah, I'm mad because I want you to be 4-0. You can't get comfortable.
Is that, if I could stay on that, is that the next layer for you with this program as you're building culture and all these different things? The next layer is the
Absolutely.
moment where you are right now?
Absolutely. We won the Coastal and didn't win another game because we hadn't won the Coastal in a long time. We won 9. We hadn't won 9 in a long time, so we got comfortable. And you can't get comfortable in life. You can't get and football is a microcosm of life. That's what it is. And you can't get comfortable. You gotta go back to work. So we'll see this week. I know Pitt's going to play hard, and I know they're going to play well. I don't know about us. I think we will, and I'm going to be really disappointed if we don't. But it's something. Last time we were at this place, we didn't play very well. So it's something that we need to do. We haven't done well.
You mentioned the red zone and the success y'all have in Minnesota, but just going through these first 3 games, you've been able to run the ball really well in the red zone in that short yardage. How much easier does that make scoring and finishing drives when you get that far and you can still run the ball?
Everything's tighter in the red zone, so it's harder to run the ball. And I do think Chip's experience with Gus Malzahn in the run game and his pass, the fact that Clyde Christensen and Freddie Kitchens are here in the NFL, it's so much tougher because the players are bigger and stronger when you get in the red zone, and they don't even use as many formations as we do. All of those things have really helped us with who we are in the red zone.
Mack, not to bring up bad memories, but the game
But don't listen to the butter guy ever.
The game 2 years ago at Pitt was so weird. I mean, you had the monsoon on your possession in overtime. I think it was either Cam Kelly or Gimmel nearly had a pick on Minnesota's last possession. Is that a game you still think about, or is that, water under the bridge?
Yeah, we had lost 4 overtime games, and 2 of them at Pitt, and 2 of them great games, and they're hard-fought games. And the game last year here was a real physical game. We lost 2 players. We lost Des Evans and Noah Taylor in this game, which really hurt us as we were going down the stretch at the end of the year. So this will be a physical battle on Saturday night, and there's no reason to think it'll be anything other than it's been when we go up there.
Mack, the success on third downs that you all have had, I mean, it's like, I think it's the second best in the country right now, somewhere up there. Like, is that one of maybe the elements that warms your coaching heart, something like that? And is that also just a symptom of having a great quarterback in Drake? I mean, do those 2 things sort of go hand in hand?
Yes, running the ball and having a great quarterback are really important. If you can't run the ball, you're depending on the play and the health of one person, and your program is more important than that. You can't depend on one person to be great all the time. You can't. Or if the receivers are not hot one day, or if you're not protecting him, you get him hit too much. So running the ball in this game is so important. We ran it for over 100 on Saturday, but it was hard. They ran it for more than we did, and we were still able to win. Usually the team that runs the ball the best wins the game. But when you have a great quarterback and they stack the box so much, it gives you 414 yards of rushing, of receiving, and that gives you a chance to win the game with some huge plays. Should have been a touchdown to Kamari Morales, who's tackled at the 6-inch line. He threw the great ball down to Nate early in the game, and that's a ball he's falling back and running to his right. He throws a strike. Drake's just an unbelievable player, but those running backs are good too. And we've got to do a better job in the offensive line of making sure that we get hats on hats so we can make some yards in the running game.
I think that was 3rd and 12 too on the Drake touchdown.
Was it 3rd and 12?
Yeah.
Matt, the comfortable thing that you just mentioned, you see it, you can sense it early in the week. Who are the best coaches you've known at keeping teams from getting comfortable? What do they do?
The best coaches that I've known that kept teams from getting comfortable had the best players, and they were too deep, and you put them on the bench if they ever weren't ready to play. And that's why I feel like we shouldn't be as tired on defense. Aaron Crawford played 98 plays against Virginia Tech our first year here in 6 overtimes. Now, how could he possibly come back and be ready to practice on Tuesday? He's exhausted at 320 pounds. So playing 8 defensive linemen, they should be fresher on Tuesday. Playing 8 defensive backs, you're fresher, but you also want to get more snaps. And I've said you get your snaps in practice. You don't get your snaps in a game. So you've got to earn it. So, Art, what I've seen is when you got good players and you put them on the bench, if they don't play well, they have a tendency to want to play well in practice because they want to play. And that's the best teams that I've been around.
Are you as deep as you try to be in your fifth year? In your fifth year? Are you as deep as you thought you would be?
Not at linebacker, because we had 3 transfers. Eugene Asante was one of the players of the week in the SEC last week. At Auburn, made 12 tackles. He would be here with us playing at linebacker right now. Robert Dilworth left. Ethan West got hurt. He's not playing. So you're thin at that position. We're thin in the offensive line, probably because we've had 3 offensive line coaches in 5 years, and recruiting's changed. Some of those guys got hurt. We're thin at quarterback because we don't have experience if Drake goes out. Tez really hurts us at wide receiver because you need 6, and we've got 5 right now. We're playing. We got to find more now that he's not playing. We got to get somebody in his position. Defensively, other than linebacker, we're pretty good. We're pretty deep. We can roll fresh people, and that's a huge thing as you get toward the 7th game because people are just beaten down.
Are you a plus or minus on the transfer portal in NIL?
Am I a plus or minus? Now, Art, that's an 8-day discussion,
No.
and we've got about 15 seconds
The
here.
results of that, you lost 15, you got 7, that kind of thing. Does that lead to lack of depth that you have?
I'm talking to head coaches across the country that say I'm depleted in this position because I got 2 that left for the transfer portal, and it was too late for me to get anybody else, and I've had 3 hurt. And that's causing all of us to have to look at roster management a lot differently than ever before.
Mack, coming into the year, there was a lot of discussion from an ACC standpoint about success against other leagues. You guys, Syracuse and Duke, all beat the Big Ten. You and Florida State against the SEC week 1. Kind of curious what your thoughts have been so far when you've looked globally a little bit around the ACC and these marquee matchups.
Yeah, Aaron, I'm really proud of our league. We've got a lot of good teams. And with all the realignment talk, it distracts from who the teams are. These teams are playing well, and they're well coached, and Syracuse going to Purdue and winning is huge. I mean, that's huge. So you start looking at Duke's been unbelievable. And I watch some of those games every Sunday night when I get in, and I get to watch highlights. So I watch everybody that we play and everybody I think is good nationally, and I look at us compared to them and see what we've got to do to get where they are in different cases. So, and then you've got Florida State dominates LSU, and they come down to having to hold on to beat Boston College. So that's what I mean. You better play. You better play every week. You better go in mad. Don't get comfortable.
Mack, over the years, you've done this a while, and getting guys to play well every week, you talked about earlier. How has your approach sort of altered over the years to accomplish that goal? Players need to play, but as far as your role in all that, how have you changed?
Tommy, I was offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and Coach Broyles was coming in to do a TV game. And I had dinner with him on Thursday night, and he said something that has really stuck with me through the years. He said that, he said, what kind of team do you think you have? And I said, Coach, I don't know. You know, how do we know till we play? And he said, well, here's my experience. You're going to play great 4 times a year. And you were playing 11 at that time. And he said, there's 7 times where you're going to have to figure out a way to win. Because they're not going to play at their height and enthusiasm every game. They can't do it. They're human beings. They're not video games. And I sat there and I thought about that, and he said, so look at your schedule, and unless there's 7 that you're better than, and 4 that you've got to beat, then you're in trouble. You're not going to have a great year. So every year I'm like a little kid saying, okay, who's this, and how good is this one, how good is that one? But what I have found is the more people that you can play, the fresher you are, and the more pressure there is on a young man to play well every day or he gets benched, the better chance you've got that they're going to play on Saturday. You can't say all the magic words to get them to play. There's 120 of them, and they're all different. There's a key to each kid, and every kid is different. So how can a coach get all of those to go? Now, the assistant coach can get hot points and try to get them ready. And individual meetings are more important than team meetings because people will listen in individual meetings because it's about them. If you've got a guy that's not a good listener in a team meeting, he's probably going to drift and fall asleep anyway. So the one that needs to hear it is not going to hear it. The one that's ready to play is going to hear it. Power Eccles doesn't need me to be talking to him in a team meeting. He's going to be ready to play. But I think the fact that the more players you get, the better players you get, and the more a guy has to earn his right to play every day, like real life, the better chance you got to be good.
To follow up on that, Omani Chapman, injured in the spring, maybe took a while to get used to the North Carolina culture. Is he one of those guys that maybe the light bulb clicked a little last week?
Yeah, I hope so. He's one we'll see on Tuesday. Does he feel too good about himself? Had some trouble on a couple of plays. In fact, it's so weird. His interception was caused by Des Evans. We've been so hard. People have been so critical of Des. He hit the quarterback as the quarterback was throwing the ball, so I could have intercepted it. And it was good, but Des Evans made the interception, not Armani. But Armani should feel good about himself. Now, as we feel good about ourselves, are we that person that motivates ourselves to do better than good, or are we the person that gets complacent? And we don't know him very well yet, so that'll be a good test on Tuesday.
Mack, you haven't been able to get Drake to stop hurdling people or attempting to hurdle people. But it took a couple big hits the other day. I guess there's only so much you can do to keep him from, you're not trying to prevent him from doing that, he's playing football, but where are you with that? And trying to keep him as clean and as, reduce the wear on him as possible, but also use what he has to an advantage. And he's obviously a threat to run game too. Just where are you on that with trying to prevent some of those shots on that?
We love Drake. Part of what we love is his competitiveness, because that's who he is, but also we got to be smart. And I told him last year that it's selfish for you to take hits, because we need you to play. So let's be smart. But there's a fine line between competitive and smart. If it's to win the game, go dive. Other days, step out of bounds. Don't take a hit, because everybody's trying to hurt him. Everybody. They want him out of the game. So get out. Be smart. Next year when he's in the NFL, it's going to be the same thing with bigger guys and faster guys. So let's learn now how to stay healthy, because we need you healthy. And he just loves to compete, and you love that about him. Let's be smarter. Let's don't be stubborn.
Now, talking about physicality, what exactly do you need out of your offensive line, physically and mentally, going into this really physical transition?
Yes, we were very physical in the first game. I thought the offensive line obviously did a great job of 300 yards, 319 rushing the second game. I didn't think we did as good the other night, and they played really well. They're real well coached. They play with low pads, but we didn't play as well inside. Part of it's injury, but that's an excuse. They're not going to call the game off because we got some sore guys. So what we've got to do is we've got to get people on people. We made some mental mistakes Saturday. We actually missed some people and had some run through, and we just can't do that. So we were disappointed in some of our offensive linemen on Saturday.
Hey, we got time for two more. We talked a second ago about having 5 receivers, 1 and 6. I know Nate obviously is back in the fold, but as you see some of these kind of freshman guys in practice a little bit more often, I know you talked about Hamilton and Culliver in the past. How realistic do you think it is for them to kind of get in some of these games and get some snaps and targets?
Jeremiah, absolutely. That was part of the discussion this morning in the staff meeting. If they're not sure what to do, find 5 things they can do. Find 5 plays they can run right now and have them go in for those plays. And teach them 5 plays. And nobody else will know what 5 they are. And in 3 weeks, they might know that if Culliver comes in, here's what he's going to do. But right now, they don't. So find something they can do to give them a chance for success. Andre Green's getting better. I was hoping he'd catch that deep ball Saturday. That would have been a true breakthrough for him. But he's getting better, and he's practicing better. He's playing with more confidence. And some guys do it faster than others. But And I will say, to brag on him too, Omarion Hampton never changes his look on his face, his personality, his demeanor. He rushed for 236 yards last week. He didn't rush for many Saturday, and you wouldn't know any difference in him. That's who he is every play. And I think that's why he's going to be such a great player. He's got a toughness about him that's really special. Then he caught the ball from behind him that he ran for about 20 yards like a dart. And then he caught one over the middle that he was so quick with, and he ran. We didn't block a couple of times on the goal line. People were grabbing him. He didn't care. He just ran over and ran in the end zone. So, but we need to get some of those young. Since Tez is not playing, we need to get some of those young ones out there for fresher legs too.
Mack, the scene after the game, I would have asked you about it Saturday, but saw the video later. You know, just what was going on in the locker room. Looked like you got a little choked up. You know, you've talked forever about not doing a good job of enjoying these wins. I mean, do you think 35 years in now that maybe you're starting to get a better handle on that? I mean, are you trying to allow yourself to be in the moment a little bit more after these wins?
Yeah, I'm really trying. It's not my personality, and it's not an easy thing for me to do, but you're sitting there, we dedicated the game to Mitch Mason, who's been through an awful time. And you see Tylee Craft there every day fighting stage 4 cancer. And we've talked about it with Tez. These kids are our family. And we want them treated like I want my son to be treated, my grandson to be treated. And that's really important to us. That's our job. And that's who we are. And when you see them accomplish something that's so cool, and it was going to be tough to beat Minnesota. I wasn't sure we could beat them. We hadn't played good, and they did. And they did the things they needed to do. I was so happy for them and so proud for them. And to see them happy and singing and not asking me to dance, thank God. I keep waiting. Yeah, if they ask me, I have to. And I try to get out fast. So they didn't grab me. Usually said Grace said, "Nah, come here." But it is really emotional because you want them to be happy, and you want them to get rewarded for how hard they worked, and you want them to be confident, and you want them to accomplish things in their life. That's a huge accomplishment. And I always get proud because it brings so much money to the university when we sell out. It brings so much money to Chapel Hill when we sell out. The athletic department, it pays for the other sports when we sell out. So it's really cool for me when everything comes together and you're at that moment at the end where it worked. This is really cool, it worked. And I'm so proud of it. I'm a real emotional person. I get mad easy, so I don't usually talk when I get mad. I get by myself because I don't say things that are good when I get mad. And that's not good for me. So I have to, I've learned that. So when you see me not talking, it's because I don't need to be talking. And usually after a loss, I don't talk to anybody. I got to talk to the team. I got to come in here and talk to you all. I try to get out of here as fast as I can and not say anything. And then I got to go try to figure out why we lost, what I should have done differently, because I feel guilty. I feel bad. But I feel so proud for those kids when you're sitting there looking at them, and you're looking at every face, and everyone's different. And especially if you're seeing a Jacoby Calvin who made a great play in the game, and he is so proud of himself. That's really cool.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.